Morning, guys. Mark Ferrasci with Protect Dog Training with Benoît, who I am going to start working with free shaping. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit and kind of run you right through how I would learn how to do something new and how do I take on the challenge of doing something I want to do. First is R&D, right? So free shaping is something that we allow the dog to, to kind of pick his own choices on what he wants to do. And then you don't want to use as much body language, luring, everything he's got in the bag. Nope, down. Good, stay. That he's already got in the bag, we want to reduce that and start showing the dog that he's got to figure out what he's supposed to do. So right now I'm doing my R&D. I got on YouTube this morning, did some reading on it, and started to get my brain and my stew going, right? Get that pot of stew getting to be started to be working. And you'll notice the first thing that I want to do is start loading my clicker, and he hasn't had a clicker in a while. He understands no good and yes. He's got all this stuff that's in the bag already, but I want to pull back and I want to just concentrate on this modality. And what do I mean by modality? When I use that word, maybe I'm using it wrong, I don't know, but bottom line, modality to me, down, stay, is all about you stay. Give me a second here, guys. Give me a chair to sit on. So what it boils down to is there's 1,001 ways to train a dog, and all kinds of different what I call modalities, meaning methods. Coucher, down. I used the wrong word. You didn't want to do it. Stay. So let me make sure my camera set's good on this one. I'll talk to you a little bit. All right. So, and this is good to practice our downstays, right? Good. So, nope. Good. Right away when I went like this, I was going to relax. He thinks he's going to break. So we'll challenge him a little bit. I'll be yakking at the screen, and he has to do it down, and every now and then I'll have to, nope, correct him, just like that, right? Good. And then lock him into his position. My food goes between the legs, right? Good. And this, whether you realize it or not, I can talk to you guys all I want, but I'm doing it for him because my voice tone and my mannerism, he thinks I'm not watching. All my dogs are kind of that way because I'm so tuned to them and they're so in tune to me. When I get distracted with a client, I'm talking to somebody, I give it, nope, a dog a downstay, then they start to think they can get away with something because you're not paying attention to them. So this is training in itself right here. All right, back to modalities. Modality to me, what that word means, I'll have to look it up and see if I'm using the right word, but it's method. It's what type of process that I'm going through to train and condition the dog. And one of those things is food. We use a lot of what's called luring, right? We use the luring for a lot of the work, and that's a lot of my work is what we call marker training. Marking that behavior right when you're doing the right thing. And there's a whole communication baseboard based on no, good, and yes. That comes from Michael Ellis. And then Michael Ellis is a big part of our industry as far as our education, because he's one of the best out there educating the new trainers. And he's got a great way of breaking things down. And nope, good. So good means I'm taking it back to him. But I want to give you that. I'm talking about starting to work on shaping. So the process I would go through to learn a new modality. I'll leave this here. Now you notice he was chewing on it. So I'm going to keep watching him. I'm going to keep giving him a correction for that. So he knows, nope, no, good. Good, and that was a tap downwards. We're not even doing free shaping now, guys. We're talking about what process I will go through to learn a new modality, a new method that I don't have much in my toolbox. I understand the concepts. I know what free shaping is, but I just don't use it because of the fact that I've got all kinds of other tools in my tool bag, and it's easier and faster for me to use the methods that I've got, which is mainly my baseboard is marker training. And that marker training and that whole communication, no, baseboard comes. He's got his paw over the top of it. He's got a perfect position for him to be comfortable chewing on that. No. And so I've got to keep an eye on him. He'll ruin my nice biothane leash that he's got. Good. Set up a time level. So this is all other stuff besides free shaping. I'm just trying to communicate to you how we're going to get to that project of learning and starting to get more skills in my tool bag that I can use in training. And this is one of them. free shaping that I don't use much. I've got a perfect specimen in Benoît because he's a very smart, intelligent dog. And like I said, I sensed last week that he would be very receptive to free shaping. So mentally, I've taken on that challenge. I said, okay, how do I get better at free shaping? I need to learn, I need to grow. R&D, YouTube. One of the things they said was kind of a game they play in trying to teach new beginners on free shaping, 101 things to do with a box, because I've got to get my mind into what I need to do to make this modality work for me in the respect of getting better at free shaping and putting that tool, or that skill, I should say, is a better word for it, into my tool bag, right? So I already looked it up this morning. I found a good video presentation on it. It's called 101 Things to Do with a Box. And they're talking about free shaping. Now I can type into YouTube free shaping and I keep going after that subject and keep my mind on it. One of the first things you need to do, and he's got this in his tool bag already, is have a good marker system, right? So the clicker is used in the very beginning when I start, but I usually drop the clicker once I get the dog going and flowing, and I start going to yes as my marker. Why? Because I can't carry a clicker around with me everywhere I go. So I'm going to be loading the clicker this morning when I start this. And that's the biggest thing I need in my toolbox to start the aspect and the modality of using free shaping to train him to do behaviors, right? Good. So good. There you go. I put one down there. You didn't hear me. So in a nutshell, that's what you're doing. You're starting to do your R&D. You're starting to dig into a subject. You say, how do I take this challenge and how do I get better at that? How do I add that skill into my tool bag so now I have that modality, that method of training? Now, let's talk about that. Methods. There's all kinds of them. We got marker training. That's one that we're using real heavy, right? No, good, and yes. That's the foundation of all my training. Where does that come from? Michael Ellis. So all the different videos, things I've been watching to learn and grow, but you have to have dogs under the belt to get better at things. You can't just watch it from a distance. You have to apply it. And then when you apply it and you only have one dog, you're not that good a trainer yet. You think you are because you've been out there hanging around with a club, you're catching dogs. Just because you can catch a dog doesn't mean you're a trainer. And that's a lot of what's going on in our industry. These kids get out there and they think, because they got the one dog and they start getting titles, they start being pretty good with that one dog, that they're a trainer. Poof, I'm a trainer. Thousands of dogs under my belt, right? And that's because I've lived in the back of kennels. I've eaten, breathed, sleep dogs for as many years as I have, right? Hanging around with Cesar Milan, going to a kennel in Oakland, up and down the California coast, working for different facilities. Where I met Cesar was California Canine, right? And that was way back in the days of Howie. And some of these old timers know exactly who I'm talking about. They know the history of what happened with who and who. That's me. I've been doing this for so many years, and I have a lot of affinity for my industry, right? So back to free shaping. So free shaping basically is letting the dog go towards something, and as he just makes incremental steps, you mark that and you try to get him to do more and more until he starts reaching for what he has to do to get the reward that he wants, or she. Nope. Good. He doesn't like doing this yak, huh? He doesn't like me sitting here talking. He wants to be busy, but this is good for him. So that's what we're working on now. But we're going to work on loading clicker this morning. So that's what we're going to do, and then I'll get off of here so I don't get going too much with my yak. I'm always yakking, but that's what we're reaching for. And as we go through this, I'm going to keep talking about how I'm reaching for this different knowledge base and what I'm finding out, so that you guys can kind of do the same thing. We always say, you got to think about what you're going to do. Nope. Before you do it. Nope. Good. Down. Good. That's my boy. Good. And I'm hitting accent points that I know I've already hit with him. So I did a little bit of a negative. He popped right up, right away positive, right? Good. This is not free shaping. Okay. So I'm going to load clicker right now. So all we're going to do, yep. Good boy. See, I love the fact that he's so well in tune with his markers. They did a good job with him when I trained him and then I sent him back home. They really concentrated on what they were learning off my videos. Good. So all I'm doing is I'm clicking each time he completes that thing that I'm asking him to do. And this is not free shaping. It's loading clicker is what we're doing right now. Good. As soon as he touches it, timing, right? Nope. Good. And I clicked, so I went ahead and gave it to him. All I'm trying to do is, because I want to get this installed to a point that it becomes very solid in his head, so that when we go to it, when I start using it for free shaping, I can use this marker. So I'll spend a day. I spent over a week just getting to know the dog and building our relationship. I'm taking it nice and slow because I've got no pressure on me as far as having to turn this product out and get it done within my 30-day limit. I'm usually a 30-day training program that I do. So I don't have to complete a project. I don't have to really get in and do that. I can take my time. So that means I can enjoy the dog, get to build a better relationship with him, and then it'll be all the more beneficial for me when I start going out and dealing with fear biting, right? So that's going to require him being in a muzzle. He's already muzzled. He's used to it. He knows what that is. Yep. So that being the case, when I go out in public, I'll be using that to protect the public, and then I'll be addressing that problem. That's a whole different thing, right? But for the free shaping, I'm not doing any of that right now. Realize that. We are basically trying to load clicker with things that he already knows, which is luring. See how well he does that? It's all luring, right? Stay. Good, you stay. Check my camera. Oop, let me pull back a little bit, and we'll go from there. All right. The beautiful dog. It's going to make a good family pet. I wouldn't expect any more out of him, and then you're going to also have to be very willing to accept the fact that he has a little bean in his head that may not go away totally, that you're always going to have to be aware of his tendencies to be the way he is, right? To accept that and to be aware of it and to make sure that you protect the public and him from having an accident, which means we may need to leave a muzzle. But I think he's going to get pretty good. We're going to find out how he does with the conditioning overall, right? Good. Okay. So that's what we're digging into, is free shaping with him. And I'm going to do a series on it as we keep digging into the subject. Right now, my goal is to just basically load this clicker, right? And then I'm going to start doing things with the other objects that I've got around. I've got a bed, I've got a chair, I've got a cone. We'll try to get him to go around a cone, and I'll try to free shape that behavior. That'll probably be the first one that I do, okay? Because a cone is not something familiar to him in our training. So there is no association that he has other than this object sitting there. He doesn't know a dang thing about that object. And I get a dog to go around that object with a lot of body language and a lot of help. And I'm not even going to try to free shape this morning. I'm just going to sit here and keep loading clicker because I'm taking my time. I can spend my time to do this and reaffirm this clicker by just bringing it out and using it. No. Good. For my normal. With me. With me. Good. There you go. Good. Now, I gave him a voice cue, right? When you're free shaping, you don't want to give him anything. You want him to reach for whatever you're trying to do. So I'll get to that when I do a little bit more R&D and really get my head going and get myself into that stew of what I need to do to learn it, right? Good. Good. Okay, I need a longer pause between the time I click and the time I reward because we have to have classical conditioning set in. I have a bad habit of click, treat, and what happens is the dog starts mugging the hands. It's another thing that I need to work on. We're all human, guys. We all have things that get in our way that cause us. Now, I just did that was free shaping. It was perfect. I leaned in a little bit, but I didn't give him any real cue, and he just touched it. That was perfect. So we're going to use this as for his free shaping, and I'm just going to rob him of the food right now until he pays some attention to that cone. Now, this is free shaping. And that's why it takes so dang long. That's why I don't use it, because I have usually, like I said, I've got a project. I've only got 30 days that I need to complete whatever I'm trying to work on, and I don't have the time to mess around with free shaping. Well, here's a time that I do have the time, so I'm going to try to do that. I'm just standing here, and I'm going to try to get him just to do his own thing. I'm not going to code. This is why free shaping is so hard, because it takes patience, and it's a long length of time. And he doesn't even know what he did right. So I'm going to walk away from it, come back to it. I'm waiting to see if he shows any attention to that cone. So I found something I can use for the free shaping. Now, this is a little help. Now, he wants the food. He wants the food. He's messing with me. He's touching me. He's trying to figure out what it is. He has no clue. We're not on the road to really getting him to understand. And we do want him to understand. Once they start to understand what's happening and that they need to reach, they're off and running, and they're using their brain, right? You notice me put my hand behind my back, and I'm leaning kind of towards, I'm trying to reduce my helping of him. One of the things I do too is I chatter too damn much. With free shaping, you want to be silent. You want to let the dog make the choices. And he just bent his head down. He didn't look at the cone, but he's a little bit closer to it. So I've got to try to get in a flow of getting in there. That's the first thing, to break the ice. To get him to go into a flow that he starts to understand what's happening, right, in this modality of free shaping. And because that's what you're doing, you're making the dog make the choices, and you're showing him that his choices, him thinking, is what's getting him his reward. And look at him. He's looking at me. He sees this hand go behind my back. He wants the food. That's overwhelming him for what I want, right, which is this cone, right? So I've got to just stand here. I've got to wait for him to say, what the hell's going on? And for him to reach a little bit, because he's got energy that he wants to dissipate. And he doesn't even know what's happening. He's sitting here trying to figure it out. What's this guy doing with me? Because this isn't normal. I've got a whole normal pattern for him, and he's used to it, right? Remember, this dog knows heel, sit down, stay, believe me. And he has a very good marker training that's already been established, a communication baseboard that's already there. It's going to get in our way a little bit. Now, I keep giving the reward over by this. The hope is that I'm trying to see, oh, look at that. Good. To see if he reaches out and figures it out. And I'm just going to have to keep playing with this until I figure out something that's going to work. It's not going to be me cueing the dog with my voice, my body language, or any other way. The dog has got to do it himself, right? Because the goal here is to get him to figure out that what he's doing is giving him the reward. So his brain is doing the thinking. No. Good. This is very hard, guys, whether you realize it or not, because it's hard for me because of my previous behavior patterns, what I normally do. And so I have to force myself to shut up, to wait for the dog to give me what I want. Now he's laying down, so this isn't what I wanted, but no big deal. I'll go back to some other luring and stuff, but that's what I'm saying. It's going to get in the way because his brain's going to go to the flow that he's already been conditioned for, which is marker training. And a lot of cues that I use, body language, voice tone, all the things that I use to communicate with the dog, and I use it a lot. It's a crutch for me, right? It's because I'm good at it. Nope. Dang it, I don't want him eating anything off the ground. Good. Now this is kind of cheating. Dang it, I missed my click. When he looked over, he's not looking at the cone. He's not even thinking about what that is. But I've got to get something that gets him to understand what's getting him his reward. I've got to break the ice to start this whole process. Once it starts going, he starts understanding even one little concept like this cone that I want him to, then we can start growing it, right? You always hear me talk about growing the dog, right? Good. Now, I don't want to overshadow what I'm trying to achieve here with my corrections, my nose, my things like that, and his brain goes somewhere else, right? So as I go along, the cone will be one, the bed will be another, but I don't want to confuse him right now, so I'm trying to get the cone, which is going to be a hard one. All right. That's not going to work today. We're going to go and we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep trying to come out here and figure out something that breaks that ice like I'm talking about. Dang it. I keep missing my friggin' click. All right, I'll get you guys go, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to achieve here, right? I'm trying to get it to a point where I can start really flowing with free shaping. It's going to take some work. But he's right where I want him. He's got all the stuff I need. He's very receptive to everything. He understands the good marker training's already been established. I need to just make sure that we have things that work that aren't going to overshadow. That's why I keep standing here with my hand behind my back. I'm just waiting for the dog to reach for something else, right? And he's reached for the food on the ground. Done that, he's not going to do what I want. I don't want him looking at me. I want him to go towards that cone. Not an easy one. Now, I can help a little bit by leaning towards it and then trying to see if he, and that's why I'm rewarding here, guys. I'm trying to get him to be more aware of that cone. Good. He didn't do that on his own. He did it with my prompting. That's where you're breaking the rules of free shaping, right? I've got to get this dog's brain to start thinking about reaching for things and trying to say, wait a minute, this is it. I'm not getting what I want. I want something. Right? He's looking at me. I don't want it to start there. I guess I'm taking probably too many steps forward by trying to get him to do that versus just doing something like, if I say the word look, like looking at me, You know, the look isn't that well conditioned, or he would have looked up. So this is going to be a challenge. I got to keep thinking it through. He just looked at me, so I clicked it, right? So this is not going to be easy. This is going to be a challenge for me because I'm not used to working in this modality. And I've got all kinds of other things that are overshadowing it, like my voice tone, my body language. All the cues that I use are in this dog's head. And so that's what he's asking for. If you watch this with me, okay, it's that body language that made that work, right? So good. And I don't have a flip finish with him yet, but I want to try to see if I can go pure free shaping with him for a while and get a good, little bit more learning and skill in my bag. So that this is what this is about. It's not just that was it. Ooh, good boy, good. He just did that and he didn't know he's going towards the cone. He wasn't reaching for what do I need to do to get my reward, but it starts here, right? It starts with him just doing something that allows him to, I'm leaning back and forth. If he steps towards that, he's stepping to my hand though. That's not, this isn't pure free shaping right now. I'm having a lot of things that are getting in my way with the overshadowing of things that he's already learned, right? That he already knows that I need to get past. It's going to take some work to get him to figure this out. But remember, our goal this morning was to load the clicker. So it's really not critical, but I have to keep thinking this through and keep doing my R&D and reading up on the subject until I figure some things to do. That 101 things to do with the box, I think is a great thing for me to learn and grasp some of these concepts, right? And it takes doing. So I can understand the concept all I want, think I intellectually know how to do it, by understanding, but really dogs under my belt going through this where I start reading the dog and seeing what I need to do to get the dog flowing towards in that modality, right? So we've got marker training, free shaping, aversives that are used, avoidance training, all these words that we can use that are basically different concepts in training, right? I have a friend of mine that is old school, works a lot on the street with his training. So I've been training for years, and I was doing the spinning, and he wanted me to choke up on the dog real tight and spin with discomfort, and the dog would start to learn to spin from that. That's basically avoidance training. The dog's going to start learning how to avoid that discomfort, and then you start changing your pressure on the leash until he learns how to avoid that pressure, right? That's avoidance. Escape and avoidance is used a lot in training, in a lot of ways. But again, the terminology is important. Words are important. So we didn't get as far along, but I'll keep coming out. We'll keep talking about it. I'll keep yakking to the screen. See, he's looking to see what he needs to do, and he's going back into the same things he's already been conditioned to do to get what he wants, right? That's why he came over by my side. I'm not clicking that. I'm trying to work on this, right? But I've got to break the ice and get him to understand the concepts first. So I'm going to do some more R&D, keep studying up on it, and keep using this as my petri dish. This is the first dog that I'll really make a good concerted effort at trying to really grow a skill as far as free shaping, right? Just one concept in training of a million. There's 1,001 ways to do things. And he didn't look at the cone, but that's all right. Nope. Good. All right. Yep. Good boy. Good. A lot of things wrong with this session, guys, but it's a lot of it because it's being overshadowed with the dog's already being conditioned. Okay. He's already got a lot of things in his cranium that I've already conditioned him to do. Good boy. Good. There you go. Right now, look what he's doing. He's looking at that hand. He's looking at the lure. He knows what this is all about. This is old stuff that I've already conditioned that's going to be there in his cranium that's going to kind of get in my way of the concepts of our other modality, which is free shaping. I've got to get figured out, break the ice and kind of flow with the free shaping concepts of things. It's going to take a little work. All right, that's about it. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training with Benoît, who's a rehoming dog. So if you guys are interested in Benoît, you want to reach out to me. I've got a lot of work to do over this next month. It was my project to get him over his fear biting problem. And we're going to be tackling that. I haven't done it yet. I said, I think I mentioned I got sick. I thought I had COVID. I've been out of it for about a week or so. Starting to feel better, so that's why I'm out here. Good. So we'll approach this again. I'm going to go in and do it, not now, but I'm going to do that in the next day or so. Do a lot more R&D on the subject, read up on it, watch a few YouTube videos, get myself flowing for what I need. He's going to start doing the back end. He's going to start going up. Good. Good. Up. Down. Stay. All right, we'll just come back to this again at another time. Thanks, guys.